But it's always a pleasure to be here, give you a sense of pride that, I don't think you can find anywhere else. And just based on some of your questions, I want you to know that like HBCUs are like 3% of the college population in the country. So 3% of the universities are only HBCUs. So it's a very, very small percentage of universities. But the numbers, according to us, are huge. 48% of African American women engineers graduate from HBCUs, right? 40% of African American male engineers graduate from HBCUs. Over 50% of lawyers that you see around here graduated from HBCUs, right? So while disproportionately most of us go to traditional white institutions, most of us disproportionately graduate from these HBCUs, and that's a stat that you really should think about for a minute, right? And then when it gets into like more specialized education that I just mentioned, like engineering, doctors, lawyers, more of us graduate from those institutions because there is a kind of feeling that they give you in these places to make you want to go further with your education, with your opportunities, with your job, whatever it is. It just gives you the kind of confidence to continue the kind of nurturing that you won't get in other universities and other places. They don't give you that nurturing, which is why a lot of us go to traditional white institutions and don't finish, because we don't get that kind of nurturing that you would get at an HBCU. And I'm not telling you you should not go to traditional white institutions, particularly in state. If you want to go in state and save you some money, if you save the money, you should definitely do that, right? But the HBCU experience, like I went to school with the mayor of Atlanta that she just mentioned, Kasim Reed. He was my classmate, right? We went to school together. He graduated, he became the mayor. I graduated, I became the mayor, right? I went to school with Puffy, right? He was my classmate, right? We all know who Puff Daddy P. Diddy is, right? He was my classmate in school, like classmate, like you guys are in the room together. We were classmates like that, right? And so I came up in that time at Howard. We didn't have all the things they have now. So when I went there in 1986, right? Graduated at Howard in 1986. At that time, it was pretty rough. Like the area was a lot of gentrification, a lot of stuff that was going on in that community was pretty rough. We had to go down to the campus probably a month before everybody. I don't know if you guys still have to do that. Went down there a month before everybody else got there. So I had an opportunity to connect with different people, from around the world, like was said. And it just, when I came down, it was different. I was still like a Newark, like I was Newark born, bound, bred. Came down there with my Newark mentality, Newark everything. I just was, people thought I was saying New York when I said Newark. I had to straighten them out. But they was like, oh, you from New York? No, bro, I'm from Newark, And it took a minute, like you said, it took a minute for me to begin to realize that, I came to Howard for a specific reason, right? That there was something that I needed to do. I was trying to find myself, develop who I wanted to be, and being around all of these brilliant people, all these folks from around the world that look like you, gives you the kind of competitive spirit and the confidence to do what it is that you need to do, right? I mean, he said, Rich, Puffy ain't had no money when he went to Howard. He was borrowing money from us to catch the train to get back to New York so he could be involved in the hip hop world and do all that stuff. We thought he was crazy at that time, going all the way to Mount Vernon, going up there to Uptown, trying to be a rap mogul or whatever it was. He was borrowing money from people. Like, yo, can I get some money? I gotta catch the train. I'm gonna get to the bus. He was doing that almost every week, right? Now when you graduate, you see that stuff paid off. He grinded. That was serious grind. Like people see him now, but they didn't see him then when he was grinding. Like going to school plus doing that, that's heavy. That's why he finally didn't finish and had to come back, because he was really, really, really involved in the hip hop world at that time, with Heavy D and all those people like that. But he really was serious about that and committed. So there's a lot of work you have to put into it. I mean, you see him now, so you say, oh, he's a billionaire, but he barely had $15 to put together to catch the train home. And that tells you, like, the kind of commitment and spirit he had, but also all the folks that was around him that was willing to help him realize his dream and didn't even know what his dream was, right? Like people, just that kind of camaraderie, it's hard to get that just hanging out here, and these people that kind of support is just not there. We're just not used to that kind of support. So at Howard, you get that kind of support when you can just walk to the guys and be like, look, I'm trying to make this happen up in New York. I need to get home. People, hey, take this. And we don't got no money either. So for us to give him our money means that it was real support, because at 8 o'clock at night, you hungry, you thinking about 7-Eleven, you just gave your $5-10 to him to go to New York City. So I mean that's real, and I think that is something that was instilled in me at Howard, like the kind of commitment to my craft, to my work, the idea that I needed to work hard, that whatever it is I wanted I could have. It was in my grasp. It was right there. All I had to do was work at it, get it done. That I was brilliant, that I was smart, that I'm beautiful on purpose, that God made me in His image, that there's the history and the culture. I mean, first I grew up in a household like that, but when I went to Howard, it just really solidified everything for me, to make me see. So all of the deficiencies that people tell us about, just not true as it relates to me. And that, as a matter of fact, there's some things that people have been hiding from me that I got a chance to find at Howard University. And when I found those things, it just put me on a course, a never-ending, like, expeditious, very fast course to get where I wanted to get, right? And there's nothing nobody could say or do or tell me that would prevent me from getting there. Like, when I ran for mayor, when I was 24, like, fresh out of Howard University. I ran for mayor. I was a teacher at Warren Street School. I just did it. Like, I just did it. I just raised $10,000 and got signature signed and was in debates with Sharp James at 24 years old. Right? That's the first time I ever ran for anything. I just did it because I felt like, I had that spirit, that eagerness, that fight in me, my confidence. I mean, obviously I didn't win, but just doing that began me on a path to get where I am today. I mean, it's just, and this time in 2014, when I won or I ran for mayor, I flew down to Atlanta and I met with Kasim, who was the mayor, who just won and became the mayor of Atlanta. So I got a chance to talk to him, get some pointers and some ideas, different things, and come back up here and help me put together my strategy here in the city of Newark. But that relationship was forged on Howard campus, right? When he used to come to class with suits on, and I used to come to class with my jeans and Timbs. You always could tell that people from Newark, we always wore Timberland, so back then. And he used to, definitely, it'd be hot, it'd be 100 degrees, you got your Timbs on. But, he used to say, oh, you should wear suits to school. I'm not wearing no suit to class, you're crazy. We used to go at it back and forth about that, and I just remember those conversations when we had, at 17, 18 years old, about life, and these conversations you don't have, and conversations are important. So the conversations you have are key to your success. And why I say that, because conversations are the words. It's like these are the things, the thoughts that are in your head, right? So it's like when I was in Newark, I went to University High School, but I hung on Avon and 14th Street, right? And now when I look back on that, I had two separate conversations, right? When I was at University High School, I used to have conversations about school, right? About scholarships, applications, where I'm going to go to school, all these kind of conversations that I just didn't have on 14th and Avon. They didn't have those conversations on 14th Street and Avon. They didn't happen. So we don't have those conversations. You miss those ideas. Those ideas are not in your head. So they don't become a choice for you, right? So you can't grab them and say, I'm going to use this, because you just don't have it. Just imagine all the guys hanging on the block. They're just not having those kind of conversations. They're not having any conversations about college, about applications, about careers, scholarships, what they want to create. They're usually talking about other people and other people's money, rappers and things that are going on in their neighborhood, athletes, all that, but nobody interjects that into their conversation. So the conversations I had at Howard were a lot more advanced, right? A lot more advanced than I had even here, right? I had serious conversations about, the world, what's going on in the world, what's my role in the world, right? Who am I as a black person, as a black man? Like, I never had these conversations with my friends in Newark. So at Howard, I had those kind of conversations. And it got so crazy, we used to have them every Friday in Douglas Hall, room 116. We got together and we used to have these serious conversations about how we wanted to change the world, like how we get involved when you get home. What do you want to do? Not like the basic what you want to do when you grow up, but how is what you're going to do help us as black people excel, right? We began to read different books, talk about the books that we read. I never had these experiences anywhere else. I had them on Howard's campus, which makes me revere it when I go back there. It's like making a pilgrimage, right? I go back there and begin to see the place that molded me. I ran into the library called Moreland Spingarn, right? The guy Ta-Nehisi Coates, who wrote the book Between the World and Me, right? His father was the administrator of the Moreland Spingarn Library when I was a student. He actually published. I wrote a poem and a eulogy at my father's funeral. He wound up publishing it for me, but he was the administrator at Moreland Spingarn. And when I went there, I began to talk to him, and I wound up going to Moreland Spingarn Library at least 2 or 3 times a week, and I would get vertical files, like write people's names down and give it to them, and they give you all of the primary information on these people, and I would spend a lot of time reading and studying about myself, about history, about people that did the things that I wanted to do, all these other kind of things, and it just really, inspired me that when I came back home, I began to go to the Schomburg in Harlem, which was the library just like the Moreland Spingarn Library, right? So if I never did that at Howard, I would never, came back here and went to the Schomburg and experienced all those other kind of things that I've experienced. So Howard did a lot for me in terms of setting me on a straight path. Also, it was a lot of, when I was there, it was a lot of, folks from the East Coast, Brooklyn and the Bronx and Newark, and so we had our little circle of folks that we hung out with. But I'm gonna tell you, like, even in that circle, who at the school people used to like say different things about, like, because we were still kind of hoodish, right? So in our little New York, New Jersey, East Coast, but everybody in that group, is doing something incredible now. Everybody, even in that space, everybody in that group is doing something incredible, right? Whether it's fashion designing, politics, the entertainment industry, entertainment lawyers. My man Matt Middleton, who was Wild Boy on campus, is like one of the largest entertainment lawyers in New York City, right? So these guys, took their experiences at that university and did what we said we was going to do at the Friday meetings, began to affect the rest of the world, and that's heavy, because people not on the block just talking about how they're going to change the world. They're not even talking about how they're going to change themselves, right? So I mean, it's those kind of conversations, they stick with you, and you remember those things for the rest of your life, and you build relationships with people who you are going to be friends with forever. And I feel like there's no place in this country that I can travel that I won't know somebody from Howard. And even if I don't, if I get on the internet and it wasn't live when I was around, I can get on there and say, I'm on my way to such and such. There's somebody from HU that's going to be like, yo, HU, whatever. So I feel like there's nowhere there's no place in this country that I travel and not see somebody from Howard, or be able to be taken care of by those folks. It just feels good, man. It feels good to have that experience, to know that, right? You can go to any university you want to, right? And you probably, and while you're at your young age, you should probably travel as much as you possibly can, right? Even as the mayor, I want you to come back to Newark and help us out here, but I would tell you to travel. See everything you can see. Go to as many states as you can. Travel around the world. You need to get your perspective widened. You need to see what's going on in the world. Even before you make a decision, I want to come back and help out what's going on. I would go as many places. That's the only thing I regret, right? I travel now, but young, I have more time. Like, just go and see what's going on, to get a different perspective of what's happening, and see yourself as a part of the whole global universe, as the world. Like, you are a part of it. Sometimes we get stuck in this place and we start feeling like isolated, like the whole world is like Clinton Avenue, or the whole world is like Chadwick. That's not even a 1/10 of 1% of the world, right? the world is so big and so vast, and you belong in all parts of it, right? When you start traveling, you begin to see how important you really are and how your culture affects everybody around the world, right? You get to see that, how powerful you really are, and you should do that, right? And it'll be helpful. So when you come back here, you'll have all the experiences that you need to help us move even faster and further into the places we need to go, and learn as much as you possibly can. Don't let people tell you that because you go to a HBCU, you're going to be restricted. As a matter of fact, it's going to help you propel yourself. There's nobody you can't go in front of. No nationality, no race you can't be around because you have that. Just look at traditional white institutions. Everybody else go to institutions like that. Nobody say that to them, right? So at the end of the day, it gives you what you need, the tools that you need to challenge yourself to excel in any environment that you're in. And the days of you feeling like you're inadequate just goes away. Little by little, it just goes away. You know, you don't feel inadequate anymore. In fact, you feel like you're enough, and you feel like you want to get more. Like you got that fight. Like I want to get more. I want more. I want to do more. I have to be more. And Howard did that for me, right? So I go back. I must have missed 2 homecomings since I graduated in 1991. So I was there for 5 years, by the way. So it took me 5 years to get out of there. I wasted a lot of time, y'all. You know, thank God that I had a little bit of scholarship and my dad too. I wasted a lot of time. But I would tell you, like I went to school undecided. So I took a whole bunch of different courses that I didn't need. The only thing that helped me at is I took a lot of history courses. So when I graduated, I wound up graduating with a double major in history and political science because I took so many classes. I didn't do it on purpose. I took so many classes in history, and there was more history classes I had to take as a political science major, so I wound up being a double major when I graduated from there. You know, but I wasted a lot. I was on academic probation my first year. Like I thought that because I went to high school and school started at 8:10, you know, 8:20, 8:30, that I should take morning classes. I should be done by 11. That was a mistake. I couldn't get up. I stayed out all night. You know, I just had such a great time. I was partying my whole first year and almost got thrown out of there. And the thing that stopped me is I had to sit down and say, what am I going to tell my dad? I catch the train home and get off the train and tell him I'm no longer at Howard University. It would be a tragedy for me. I couldn't walk in my household and say that. So I had to do a quick 360, 180, I should say. I had to do the 180, put everything in perspective, begin to organize my life, and most of it was time management. And that was my problem. I had to manage my time properly. I managed my time properly, and I began to focus on what I needed to focus on, figured out what it is I wanted to do, took my studies seriously, you know, and since then, that was the only time I had an issue at the school. I think, it's easy for your GPA to go down. It's hard to bring it back up from where it was. So I worked my butt off, you know, as much as I possibly could to get out of there. So I did waste a year. Yeah, I think I wasted a whole year playing around at Howard, just getting enthralled by all of the stuff that was going on. But, I caught myself, thank God. And, I was able to graduate from there in 1991. And the irony of it is, when I graduated, a lot of my friends from Newark came down to my graduation. So it was just sweet for me to have all your friends come down and see you graduating from the university. When I was younger, I tried to hide it a little bit that I went to Howard University, which was crazy, right? Now that you think about it, it's really bizarre that it's not okay for you to go to college, right? In 1986, that was like, my oldest brother went to college, but he didn't finish. So then I was next behind him to go to school. And so when I went there, just me being on the campus, I thought I was doing something. And when I go home, people try to ask you where you were. So like the young lady said, I was going home every weekend, every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, every opportunity I got to go home, I went. When I became a junior, I stopped coming home. When it got real for me, when you see that finish line, I felt like it was time for me to get out of here. Like, I gotta go. I didn't come home in the summer even. I just didn't come home. I stayed on the campus. I did everything I had to do. I math was hard for me, so I took summer classes. I took math in the summer. I didn't take nothing else but math classes in the summer so I could finish. I stayed down there until I got out of there. I didn't come home. I came home for Christmas holiday, that's it. And other than that, when everybody was leaving the campus, I stayed. I hung out in DC. I became the vice president of student government. I hung out in DC. I played local softball with the guys that was out there. You know, I just became a part of the community down there because I felt like, look, if whatever I'm gonna do when I get home, I'm gonna do it when I get home. I have to do what I have to do now so I can get home. If I get distracted by all that stuff that's going on back home, I'm not gonna make it. Like all the things that they're talking about, all of the trivial conversations, going out to the club, all this other stuff that people are doing, just getting caught up in the things that they get caught up in and thinking that's important. I didn't care if I wore the same sneakers for the whole damn year. I didn't care. If I had 3 or 4 pair of jeans, before I was interested in coming home, trying to get clothes, trying to be fresh, trying to do all that stuff. My last 2 years at that place, my only thing on my mind was graduation. Like I had to get out of here. I just didn't care. And that's what I focused on. And I got out of there by the grace of God and was able to do the things that I'm able to do now. And I owe all of it to Howard University. Of course to my family, but I say Howard University because, you know, it gave me the impetus, you know, the strength to get out here and do the stuff that I wanted to do. Because prior to that, look, I'm a writer, I'm a poet, like I'm a writer, I'm a good writer. I'm a good writer and I'm an even better speaker. I worked at it, I wasn't born at it. I was writing since I was 15 years old, 15, 14 poetry, but I never showed anybody my poetry. I used to put it in my back pocket because I couldn't get out in front of Yusef Steak and Take on Avon and be like, yo, y'all want to hear this poem? I just couldn't. It wasn't like the right place and time to do that, you know what I'm saying? I just couldn't make that happen. So I had a lot of poetry in my pocket, like it was on napkins, on loose pieces of paper, that I could have lost that ability, that dream, you know, I could have lost that, you know? Just, I never really expressed that. When I got to Howard, I began writing and reading in front of people, like pulling my poetry out, reading and getting up in front of a room and reading poetry, having professors telling me, yo, you could write, you should do this, you should do that, helping me, you know, perfect my craft as a writer, as a speaker, as a presenter. I became an organizer down there, you know, so all of those things. I used to get up like 12 o'clock on the yard at Howard University when it was packed out there on the yard. Like, I mean, it's, especially the warmer it get at 12, I mean, it's jam-packed, right? There's a wall in front of Blackburn. If you guys were there at the Student Center, there's a little wall, there's the little faucet or the thing, and then there's the wall. I used to stand on that wall and give speeches while people talking and make them stop and listen to what it is that I had to say. I used to go into the punch out and stand on a table, right, on a Friday on a table, stand on a table and give speeches in a punch out, talking about black history and what you should need to be doing for your community and all these kinds of things. That from a kid writing poetry, stuffing it in their back pocket because they were scared to express who they was on Avon in front of their friends, to me, going in front of strangers, you know, at you know, punch out on Friday and standing on the table telling them why black history is important, right? So now I can go to Howard, I can walk down the street and see my face on a banner, on a pole up there. You know, the first time I saw that, I almost cried, really. You know, I walked, and somebody else told me it was there. So I went all the way down to DC to see it. I went there, it's my father and it's me on a pole down there in front of, I think it's the School of Architecture or School of whatever. It's just so inspiring to me, and it's like, you know, the crazy thing about it is that at University High School, they was taking a trip, like the trip y'all going on. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go. My father went to Howard University. I went, my younger brothers went. I didn't want to go on the trip, right? They had a trip to go visit Howard University. I had a guidance counselor, Miss Rosita Holliday, who seen me coming into school and was like, we have a trip today to Howard. We need you to go on a trip. And I told her, no. I was like a smart aleck kid, right? And I said, no, I'm not going on a trip. And she's harassing me. So I said, I don't have a permission slip, so you can't make me go, right? So she took me to the office and called my dad. Yeah, she called my father and was like, we going on a trip to Howard. Yeah, I gave your son a permission slip like a month ago. He's like, he never brought it home. So he was like, I give you permission to take him on a trip. So You know, I was upset all the way down there on the bus. You know, my lip poked out. But when I got out and walked on that campus, man, I seen all of those black people. It was so incredible to me. You know, and I started talking to them, and they would become architects, engineers, doctors. They do this. They from all over the place, right? I started talking to these guys. They were from Jamaica. Like, I was amazed. I never met no real live Jamaicans. I know people from Jamaica that's born in Newark, but they say they're Jamaican. You know what I mean? These people was Jamaicans. Like, they was right from Jamaica. And I got a chance to talk to them, and I was like, wow, y'all came all the way from Jamaica to go to this school? You know, and it's speaking in their language, I was like, whoa, you know, in their accent, I was like, that's crazy. And that right there was so inspirational to me when I came home, and I don't advise you to do any of this, but I filled out one application, that's it. I didn't fill out any other application. I filled out the application to Howard University. That's it. I was convinced. I had it made up in my mind. That's the school I'm going to. I'm not going nowhere else. That's what I'm going to do. And by the grace of God, it happened for me. I worked hard and made it happen. And I went to Howard, right? And the rest is history. You know, the rest is history. And imagine if Miss Holliday wouldn't have done that for me. If I didn't get a chance to go see that. If I'd never been to that university. If I wasn't able to perfect or find out who I am, what I had the ability to do, to write, to speak, to organize, to do these things. I wouldn't be standing here talking to you as the mayor of this city now. I wouldn't be. It would not be in my history, right? This would not be a reality for me. So I take all of this stuff seriously. So you should take this thing seriously. You don't know where it's going to lead you. I was just like one of y'all, man, a reluctant kid, you know, thought I wanted to be somewhere else, didn't know, you know, what God was putting before me. I was getting ready to pass it up. I was going to make the biggest mistake of my life, right, and be like everybody else. But I wasn't born to be like everybody else. I was born to be who I am, and how it made me find that out. So, any questions for me, I'll be glad to answer them.
Denzel Washington once said, "You pay for the rain and you gotta deal with the mud." And
that's right.
What you just told us, like, you basically said, like, you was praying, like, well, you wasn't praying, like, you didn't want to go, but like when you got there, was there like a lot of, I know you said like you had the incident like with you was on academic like parole, like other, like were there like other adversities that you had to go through, like the professors or like
my professors would do. I had the best professors ever. I mean, they smart, they brilliant, and they give you opportunity, right? I had a professor, I wrote a paper, 15 pages, right, on Liberia and Sierra Leone. It was a history class. I had to, because in Liberia and Sierra Leone, they are the only Africans who left and became slaves in the United States, but went back to their country, expatriated. So African Americans actually went back to Liberia and Sierra Leone and settled it. So I had to do a paper on that, 15 pages. I stayed up and wrote it in one night because I was playing. I gave it to my professor, right? He gave me a D. And I was a little devastated, but this is the type of professor we have, right? So he came to me and said, listen, I don't know what you did, but this is not what you do. This is not your work, right? You got a D, right? I'm gonna give you a chance to do it again, right? I'm gonna give you a chance to do it again, and this is a date that you have to hand it in. If you don't hand it in this date, then you got to live with this date. So I had an opportunity to do it over. Like he didn't try to punish me or belittle me or berate me or even allow me to be satisfied with failure. He told me you got to do it again, and this is the date you have to do it by. And I did it, right? He gave me a C+, right? That's what he gave me a C+. On the other page, he gave me a C+. I was like, this guy is really crazy. But he gave me a C+. But at the end of the day, it just made me feel like, you know, he had my back. He didn't want me to fail. He saw the potential in me, but he still made me pay for the fact that I had to do it over, that I didn't do it right the first time, right? And I appreciate that, right? I appreciate that. And I have no complaints about any of the professors that I had. I had awesome professors. You know, most of the mistakes I made is because I made them. You know, I made those mistakes. My professors were the bomb.
Yeah. You know how they say like it's important to go to like HBCUs to learn about your culture and stuff like that. So I have like, okay, so for the people that, cause I really want to go to HBCU, but you know how they don't really give you too much money.
Right.
So do you think like if people really want us to go to these HBCUs and really get to learn about our culture, don't you think it should be something in place for us to get the type of the money to be able to go out there and not have to pay back all these loans? Because now, knowing that I can't pay this, I can't go and learn about my culture because I gotta go to a regular university because
Right.
I don't want to be.
Because they're giving you the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. The most consistent one is the UNCF, United Negro College Fund. They raise dollars and they send people to these universities all. But there are scholarships that you could get, you know, and it's financial aid. And HBCUs are cheaper than traditional white institutions. So, I mean, at the end of the day, there are scholarships and there's also financial aid. There's opportunities to make it happen. I mean, some of the people that I went to school with, I know they didn't have the kind of, because when you said that comment, I was over there like, I don't know who those people are. Because I know they didn't have the wherewithal on their own to make it. It is a little bit more difficult because you're going out of state and those things cost money and you don't factor that in. Food, other kind of pieces. When you home, it's easier because you're closer to your house to be taken care of as opposed to being away. It is harder. You know, it's nights that, you know, that I was hungry, and there's other nights that, you know, I made friends with people so I can go eat. But that's you know, it just makes you resourceful though. But it's way, where there's a will, there's a way. I agree with you though, that we should try to find more opportunities and scholarships and money, particularly people who graduated from these schools and are making so much money now, should at least create some type of fund. I agree with that, 100%.
I know they look to like alumni and stuff to give back to the school so that
And they do.
But a lot of, like they give back, but it's like a lot of them use their money for like other stuff, but then speak about how we need to step up and go there. But it's like, you got all this money, so why you not helping us? I don't understand.
And there's a few people that are, you know, making a whole lot of money that come from these universities, these HBCUs. I mean, because there's something special there. If I told you it wasn't, I'd be lying, and I'm not telling you that because I went there. It's something special at those places. It's just something special. You know, we fight with Hampton all the time, but it's the same thing. You know, it's something special. We the real HU. You know what I mean? So it's just something special there.
Do you feel like HBCUs have to? But do you feel like HBCUs are losing like their cultural effect on us as black? Like,
no, I wouldn't say that. I just think that people like. We need to get out here and tell people like we're doing today the importance of HBCUs. I think that people are thinking that they're not necessary anymore because, you know, we're not in the same place in the world or in the country. Still, you know, we still got serious obstacles in America. But the reality is, I think it's still as necessary now based on the statistics I told you in the beginning. Like if HBCUs are only 3% of the colleges in the country, and we're graduating 49% of African American female engineers, that's huge. And it says two things. It says something about the quality of the education you're getting at the HBCU, but it also says that other universities are not preparing us the way that we need to be prepared. That's what it's saying. And that there's something culturally missing from these universities that are preventing us from graduating at the rates that we need to graduate at.
The other one was, your father said once that art is whatever makes you feel good to be human. And do you feel like poetry, like I do like poetry, but do you feel like it brings out like that worth and like do you like find out who you really are and true, like when you was doing that at doing your different speeches at Howard?
I still write poetry, but that's my thing, you know what I mean? Poetry to me is how I express my thoughts and my feelings in a way that you can't express in regular language, right? It's a way that I express and communicate as well. And it also, like he said, it also makes me feel like I am doing something to advance humanity when I do that, right? most of the stuff that I do, I feel like that. I'm trying to advance humanity. Still, 7 o'clock on Friday, Douglas Hall, 116. Still doing those things that we talked about in that room, you know. And Puffy was a part of that. He was a part of that space, you know. I don't know if, I mean, he's doing a lot of stuff, you know, to expand himself and do all the other kind of things. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think he's doing what he was born to do. And that's really what we were trying to figure out, what we were actually born to do, and do it the best way we can. And you could tell he's doing what he's born to do, because he excels at it so well.
Do you think it's possible, like, when the people come back to school, like, if we could visit Howard again? Because it's like, we were all excited to visit Howard, but it was like when we went, like, our experience was limited, so we didn't really get to see as much as we wanted to.
You gotta go back then.
During the school year.
Yeah.
Try to see it while there's classes going on.
Yeah, you gotta
Like
go
during
during
the
the
day.
school year. Absolutely. That's the best time. You gotta go and see those people. I went during school time, so when I got a chance to go, the campus was filled, right? It's just a whole different experience. You know, when you see thousands of people walking across that place, it's just a different experience. And like was said earlier, different kind of styles, character, feel, just different. It feels different.
Can I add something to that as well? Like, I can't, like, walking through university where you might see, like, black men sagging their pants, their uniforms walking across, like, our hallways, but I walked onto Howard's campus and, like, all the black men are in suits the whole day. And, like, that one thing, with some of the schools and some of the classes, they require you to wear a suit.
That's right.
Your first month, or even your whole first semester or first 2 semesters, just to get you used to that, like, to get you used to how it's going to be in the real world, to get you used to carrying yourself in a professional environment, and, like, everyone around you looking the same as well.
Yeah. I told you I had those fights. School of B, they definitely do that. I used to argue with people. I'm not wearing no doggone suit.
The whole
But,
freshman year, you can't come in class at all.
Now I gotta wear a suit almost every day. See how that works?
When you were younger, like in high school, like when you were trying to figure out what you wanted to do, were you like doing it for yourself, or like were you trying to, like, I guess, satisfy your parents? Because I think part of like
That's a good question.
part of like this generation was kind of like is confusing us sometimes, is that like we try to do everything to satisfy our parents, but sometimes we get lost in what we actually want for ourselves. So like for you, how was it like different when you were younger?
It's the same. I was a kid like you trying, and you know, we looking for acceptance. That's how people wind up doing the wrong thing, because they looking for acceptance from the wrong people, right? They out here looking for people to, you know, identify who they are for them, right? As opposed to trying to figure out who you are. I think everything that you're doing, even in an effort to please your parents or do whatever it is that people want you to do, because all your parents just want what's good for you, right? And they've been through a set of things, both good and bad, that informed them, instructed them on what they think is good for you, right? Like, so your parents' job, if they walked around the corner and there was a big hole in the ground, their job is to tell you not to go around there, right? That's what they tell you. Don't go that way, because if you go that way, you're gonna fall in that hole. And sometimes some of us have to fall in and figure it out on our own. But at the end of the day, that's their job. You know, as you growing as a man, you have to begin to be introspective, like begin to think about yourself, like what you like, what you feel, and be in tune with your emotions, right? What you get excited about, what gets you angry. And it's difficult to do that when you're around a group of people, right, who only like you in one set of circumstances, right? The only time they can communicate with you is when you're one type of way. But none of us are like that. Like, we got a bunch of feelings, a bunch of emotions, a bunch of ideas. You have to be around people that are going to allow you, right, the freedom to be who you are, right? To express who you are, to say what you need to say, to do, and even if that's one other person, or maybe it's nobody for now, right? But you have to find out who you are, right? And why you were born, and what's your relationship to the rest of the world. You have to do that. That's what school is designed to do, to help you discover who you was born to be. Like, you're not supposed to be like everybody else. You're not. You was born different on purpose. You got a different fingerprint, a different swag, a different walk. You're different on purpose, right? You're not supposed to fit in with everybody else. You're supposed to be who you are. The journey is trying to figure out who that is, right? And it don't come to you right away. Some people 50 years old haven't figured out who they are yet, right? So it's a journey. It's the journey that you just want to make sure you're on that right journey and don't let people stagnate you. Right? When I went to Howard, I figured out I wasted a lot of time on Avon and 14th Street in front of that pool hall. I wasted a lot of my life trying to be like people who didn't even know who they were. So I'm imitating somebody that's imitating somebody else, right? And it's a disaster. It's really a disaster, right? I wasn't like Tiger Woods. You know, when you see Tiger Woods, when he was a baby, he was on TV. He was playing golf at like 5 and 6 years old. So he figured out what he wanted to do, which gave him a huge head start. Now he a master at it. It gave him a huge head start, right? So I was behind because I was so busy chasing fools, right? And I wasted a lot of my life instead of figuring out. If I would have spent more time focused on my craft, you know, and I know that's what I was supposed to do because that's what I knew how to do good, right? And I should have kept doing it. And thank God that, you know, I didn't waste it all away, but I just think if I had a larger head start, that I'll be a lot more advanced than I am even now. So you got to find out who you are, man. And you know what the great thing about your dreams is? They can come true even if other people don't believe in them. Because the only person that got to believe it is you. That's it. That's the only prerequisite for it to happen. You got to believe it. That's it. Not even your mother and father. They don't have to believe it either. This is real. They're not you. They just not. People can only teach you but so much, man. School can only give you half of who you are. You got to get the other half. High school can't prepare you for the world, man. The only thing they can do is give you the tools so you can prepare yourself. They can't prepare you. They don't even know the jobs that are coming. How they prepare you for jobs they don't even know exist yet? They can't. They can't prepare you for jobs that they don't even. The only thing they can do is give you the tools so you can begin to figure it out yourself. Most of the journey is just you. You got to figure it out on your own out here. You got to do it. And I think that's what these HBCUs give you. That desire to find out what it is you want to do, and the courage and the will to go get it done. I heard 1,000 times, young lady said she like taking risks. That's it. That's it. You know, we want the ball at the end of the game with 3 seconds left. That's what it gave me. Howard, give me the ball. 3 seconds left at the end of the game. I'm gonna shoot it. Yeah.
Do you think for our generation is more peer pressure? Like
peer pressure is the same, man. It's the same. The only thing different than your generation is the internet. The peer pressure, that means people can pressure you in different ways. And I can get away from people. I have to be bothered with them no more. You can't ever get away from people. They're going to harass you on the internet. Pressure is everywhere. It's more in your face because of technology. It's more in your face. But the same kind of peer pressure is there. You just, the access to that. But you got to see the flip of that, right? So because you have that, the internet also gives you the opportunity to have access to information all over the place. You can get this information right here in the palms of your hands that I just didn't have access to. I can ask you a question, you can find an answer out in 5 seconds, right? I have to wait, go read, and come back and give you the answer. You can get at least part of the answer right now. Like if I ask you about a famous person or a date or something, you can find that out on your phone.
So before you came, Ramel was telling us that you was on Lauryn Hill's album. So how did it feel to do that?
You know what? It was crazy. It was really nothing to me at the time. Now I feel like, you know, what's the Jay-Z song? I could have bought Dumbo thing. Yeah, like it was really nothing to me at the time, you know, because Lauryn is my friend. Like we friends, so you know, I was a basketball coach, and at Warren Street School, like I coached basketball for a while, and she called me and was like, "Yo, I'm doing this thing at my house. I got some kids up here, I want you to, and that was on the second album, I want you to do a thing, I want you to test something out. I said, all right. 2 of the kids that was on my team was in the car. We drove up there to Lauren House, and I, off the top of my head, did some stuff for about an hour. And, now it's all over the world. On the Fuji's one before that, in the basement up there, we did the score. I did all of the interludes for on the score for them too, right?
Who was a poet that you look up to that like shaped how you write poetry now?
My father. Yeah, my father is the playwright is August Wilson. Besides my father, the other kind of artist, writer, August Wilson. He wrote, they finally made a movie out of one of his plays, Fences. But he got a whole bunch of plays about the history of our folks. And it's like regular working people, that I seen them all, so.
More questions?
This is it for me.
Yeah.
But I always say it though. I look up to Maya Angelou when she says you strive for progress, not perfection. But how much more progress do you feel like you have until you accomplish like what you felt you needed to?
I don't feel like I don't have a goal of like where I feel like I've perfected everything that I want to perfect, right? I think the journey is infinite, like it's ongoing, and if you do what you're supposed to do, even when you die, you won't stop growing, right? Because people are going to carry you on, so, and that's real to me. So I don't every day like I need to do this to be perfect. I just need to be better tomorrow than I am today, right? That's it. That's how I feel. Like I'm in competition with myself. I'm not in competition with nobody else. That's why like I don't like get into spats. I don't get into the little like the people get jealous. They go through all of this stuff. I don't have those experiences because I've been next to people who are like rocking it out here, right? So I'm like I'm like in competition with myself. Like I need to be better like 2 days from now as I was today and the day before. I gotta keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. Keep pushing. Keep moving forward, right? When I sat with Kasim in Atlanta, I knew I was gonna be the mayor. When I sat down with him, when we talked, he knew it too though. And he came up here for one of my fundraisers at the Robert Tree Hotel. And when he left, he said that, he texted me. He said, call me back at the inauguration. This thing is done. Right, and that's just like, and that's not like, I'm not saying that because I'm like being arrogant or nothing like that. I'm saying it because we worked hard. When you want to do something, you work for it. You just work hard. You work hard at it. And the confidence that you get from working hard is what it is. I was listening to Mike Tyson last night, as a matter of fact, on one of his old things. He said he don't believe in talent. I don't know, I wouldn't go that far, but he said he don't believe in talent. He said that ain't nobody getting up early as I am. They're not running the runs. He was like 16 years old. They're not running as far as I'm running. They're not, they're not hitting, swinging as much as I'm doing all that. They're not doing what I'm doing. That's what he said. They ain't doing what I'm doing. So they're not going to get the results that I get. Basically what he's saying. So I don't believe, he said, I don't believe in talent. That's what he said. I believe there is some talent, right? And you have a little talent. You figure that out. But what he was trying to say, in essence, is what Will Smith says. You can be smarter than me. You can be more handsome than I am. You can have more money than me, but you ain't going to outwork me. I'm going to run on this treadmill, and you run on the treadmill. I'm going to stay on the treadmill till I die, and you're going to get off. That's basically the same thing Mike Tyson said, right? And that's how I feel, right? You're not going to outwork me. You're just not going to do it.
May I ask a question? I showed them the stuff with Lauryn Hill from your poetry album, the cold beverage,
Hot beverage in winter.
Yeah. one of the things that you mentioned about you like imitating other people who was imitating other people, and the sister who spoke, Amari, said about her second year roommate being from Montclair and her black not being the same as hers coming from
That was very profound too.
yeah, that stuck with me. So if both of you can expound on that statement, like the differences in being black from a city like Montclair and being black from a city like Newark.
She said it, so.
I think our experiences were just different. Like, my mom's actually from Montclair as well, and her being from Montclair and me being from Newark we're very different in that, like, she had different opportunities than I had here. Like, even though my mom raised me, she was able to see very different things than I was able to see growing up. Like, right before I applied to Howard, I was cheering for Weequay, and at this time, there was an issue going on with the football players, and one of our cheerleaders actually got shot right after practice, right outside of Weequay High School. And like, my roommate could never say anything happened like that leaving lacrosse practice. Like, but I don't know, like we just kind of came from different routes. Even though like our roots are the same, we came up a different tree. Like, I don't know.
That's real. That's 100% right. 100% right. I knew the girl. Her father was on the board of trustees, board of directors of Intamins, and her father used to send her all of the like Intamins cakes and stuff to Howard. She'd have all these cookies and cakes and all that. So he was on the board of the Intamins thing. I was glad to know her in those times, but at the end of the day, like that's a whole different person than I am. I just didn't have those privileges and experiences. I just didn't have that.
But like, don't let that, a lot of people say, well, where I came from and my background and where I'm from, I can't do that. It's not the same. Like, he's sitting here talking about having someone walk in the same path as him whose father was on the board for Intermins. Like, that's a very big corporation, but look at who he is now. Like, don't let anything where you are now stop, like, where you can be. Like, who you are today is not who you are tomorrow. Your zip code does not define who you can be tomorrow. Like, I have one of my roommates, my friend Kayla, this is one of my close friends now. Her dad is like deputy mayor of Patterson. Like, her mom, they just comes from money. And like, she was my roommate sophomore year. We lived in a house, so I had a couple of roommates, but no, junior year. But she ended up interning for the congressman, and she worked, well, not the same congressman, but her congressman up in Patterson. And I'm like, how did you even hear about that? Like, how did you even know that you could work in the Capitol, like in the U.S. Capitol? You know what I did? I went and applied, and then the next summer I worked for the congressman. Like, so though we both came from different backgrounds, I was able to work in the same Capitol with her. Like, I worked for Congressman Donald Payne Jr. She worked for a different congressman. Like, but we still were able to do those same, you know, like, even though she came from here and I came from here, we were able to like still make our way down that same path. And also something you said earlier, like these conversations that you have with people, every word will stick. Like, even when people tell you bad things, they stick. Like, even when people tell you good things, try and talk to everyone, wherever you go. Introduce yourself to someone. You never know how, like I said, giving your little intro can take a conversation so far. You can learn so much. Like he said, you're only gonna get 50% in the classroom. That other 50% is gonna come from your experiences, gonna come from your conversations, gonna come from networking, gonna come from your surroundings. Your surroundings is so important. The people around you. If all four of you guys are millionaires and she sits down with you guys, she's not going to be poor. She's going to become a millionaire. Like, that fifth person is just going to, if you're sitting down with four drug dealers, you're going to become a drug dealer. Like, whatever you do, however you surround yourself, everything that's around you, like I said with the vibrating higher, like everything that is around you is going to like impact you and like raise you higher or lower you.
It really is.
Thank you.
That's